It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw. Before we get started, we want to help you save some money.
That's right, folks. Don't forget to use our promo codes to save that money. And let's start off with buckbaits.com. That's right, the brick and mortar store of Buck Baits down at Sterling Heights, Michigan at 15 and Dodge Park. Go over there. If you're on the website, buckbaits.com, use the promo code UNJ20. That will get you 20% off your order.
For those of you who are looking for Easy Cut products, make sure you go to easycutproducts.com. And when you're there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ15 off to save 15% off your order.
And let's not forget Lincoln Roan over at packermax.com. It's never too early, never too late to think about the Packer Max. Go on over to packermax.com, use the promo code UNJ25. That'll get you $25 off your order over at Packer Max Outdoors. For
those of you looking for some new firearms and firearm products, make sure you go over to theislandarmory.com. While you're there shopping, use the promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order there.
If you shot that bird of a lifetime and you want it mounted, don't forget Troublesome Creek Taxidermy. We've had them live on the show. We've talked to them. You want to get 10% off your order, go to Facebook, go to troublesome.creek.7, find their website. If you go to our website, UNJ, make sure to click on the button to download the form. You get 10% off over there using the code UNJ10.
Looking for that game call, whether it be a squirrel, whether it be goose, duck, deer, make sure you go to JPO Game Calls. Look for them at jpogamecalls.com, and while you're there shopping, use the UNJ10 promo code to save 10% off your order.
And Miller Deer Tracking, the man that seems to never sleep during deer season. Get 20% off your next deer tracking using the promo code UNJ20. Look for Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook or give him a call over at 810-240-4891.
Looking for the hottest new plastics to take on the water, whether it be hard water or soft water? Make sure you go over to southernindianabaitco.com. While there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order.
Deer Camp Coffee, folks. We drink it every night on the show. You want to try it? You can go to the brick and mortar store at 15 and Dodge Park at Deer Camp itself, or go to deercampcoffee.com. Also use our promo code UNJ10. You get 10% off your order. And don't forget, get a bag of the UNJ medium roast blend there as well.
All right, Danny, where's our live view camera look from tonight?
That's right, folks. Overlooking the Detroit River, where it's a nice balmy, about 22 degrees. A bit breezy, you can tell by the flags, but that is a live shot looking up and down the river at the Dawson Museum. And you're going to see this shot as we stay here for a little bit. You can see the wind blowing the antennas, but there is not a stitch of ice on that river. A little bit on the shore, but nothing in the main.
Wow. A balmy 22?
A balmy 22, and with that wind, probably not... a little warmer. But Yep, there you go. You can see the waves.
Yeah.
It's February 1st. We've got waves on the Detroit River. So,
well, welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. Sitting here in the cabin. Yeah, 22 degrees in Detroit. It's probably 20 here. This morning it was -1 when I went to work, so it's been chilly the last couple of days. It's going to be chilly for the next couple of days.
Well, and it's kind of funny. Friday is supposed to be really cold, but by Monday we're back almost to 40.
You know, last week we talked with Adam Wynn. He went up to Little Bay to Knock, did some walleye fishing up there on the ice, and we did some talking. You did some talking with somebody we know that's in the walleye industry and got this interview set up tonight.
I did. You know what? It was really nice, and we'll talk to him about this when we get him on the show. But getting back to these shows, these public shows that we run through the first 3 months of the year, seeing all the people there just walking around, and, you know, once I seen this guy sitting in his chair and he had a moment break, I had to jump in and talk to him.
You talk?
Right?
Well, you know what? We're going to get him on now. Lance Valentine from Teachin Fishin. Lance, I'm sorry you had to put up with him down at the show. I apologize. My fault.
Well, you know, Mikey, the good thing was I didn't have a lot of time to sit in my chair and talk. So
that's good.
It worked out pretty good. We had just enough time to kind of chat real quick, get this set up, and then we were busy again. So, yeah, it's good to see you guys. Good to be back on.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since Outdoor Ramble last year.
I think it was. You know what? And it's funny you mentioned that you didn't have time. I kind of agree because it was kind of shoulder to shoulder for that first big fishing show of the year. And, yeah, it must have been nice where you were watching all the people walk by. You were there for every day, so...
Well,
yeah, the show opened at 1 o'clock on Thursday, and at 1:05, our booth was full and busy, and guys buying stuff, and it didn't stop until 3 o'clock on Sunday. So it's nice. It's nice to get back into busy show season. And I'll tell you what, as somebody who survived 2020 and 2021 and 2022 as a small business owner, everybody at that show that made it through those 3 years and was there, we deserved a good show. We really deserved the kind of response and the kind of sales we got last week. So it was good to see.
Absolutely. And as busy as you were at that show, you're busy tonight. You're joining us a couple hours early from 7:30 to 8:30. But after this, what are you having going on at 9 o'clock tonight?
Yeah, so twice a month we do an informal chat that we call Coffee Hour Plus. Now, it started during COVID. I don't know if you guys caught any of it, but during COVID in 2020, I just walked over here, and this studio looked completely different. It was just a storage room for our tackle. And I walked over here one morning, and turned on my camera and said, I'm going stir crazy. I got to talk to somebody. And that turned into like 97 days in a row every morning of doing, we called it coffee hour because it was in the morning. And, when everything kind of started to get back to normal, we kind of enjoyed that informal chat with everybody. So twice a month we do that. And tonight at 9 o'clock, you can go to teachinfishin.com, scroll down a little bit, click on the coffee hour box on the website homepage. And tonight we're talking about rods. We're talking about rod power, rod action, rod flex, kind of how all those things kind of go together to make the perfect rod. But yeah, twice a month we do Coffee Hour Plus, usually at 8 o'clock. But this came up, and this was kind of cool. We kind of merged two together, and going to be a really cool night of, what is that going to be, 7:30 to 10 o'clock, so 2.5 hours of live stuff. Looking forward to it.
You got a bathroom break in between the two shows. That's about it.
I hope. If not, I'm wearing crappy sweats underneath the table. So
have somebody fill your coffee for you and keep you going, man. There's no stopping. So that's awesome. But no, we appreciate you having you on. And I remember when back in COVID when you started that, I tuned in a couple, 2 or 3 times, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And I'm like, this guy's got it going on. It was nice to see something from the outdoors. Like Danny said, at that time we couldn't get into shows.
Yep.
For you guys, they weren't even allowing you to put a boat in.
Couldn't go fishing. I lost the whole charter. I lost the whole charter season and a show season, and then for 2 years I used to do a lot of distributor shows in the fall. For Motor Guide, I do 20, 25 days of distributor shows. We lost all that. So my whole life based around after fishing is based around being on the road and educating people, and that just disappeared. I just couldn't take not talking to people about fishing. So we came over here one day. I set up a tripod, turned on my phone, and
away you went.
Coffee Hour was born, and it was. There were some days we had 500-600 people.
That's cool.
In the morning, and it turned into a whole new group of customers for us, as I'm going to call them, right? Whole new group of relationships, guys we never would have reached. And in a lot of states, most of our guys in Coffee Hour weren't from Michigan. They were from Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New York. So we picked up a whole new group of people that we could reach and connect with through that. Yeah. So we kind of turned a negative into a positive, and
that's awesome.
We do it twice a month, and then we just kind of keep on humping with it.
You mentioned Iowa. I don't associate Iowa with walleye fishing.
There's some great walleye fishing in Iowa. Fantastic.
Right, exactly. And that's the benefit of what we do, right? We get the word out. You're not limited to maybe just that show, right? And they're only going to know you so far. But look, in COVID times, what you're able to do to reach a whole new market, a whole new. Actually, you were doing it in the morning, so with people being home. What else are they going to do, right?
Right.
I was watching from work.
I know.
We had a very captive audience.
Right? Yeah. But tonight joining us also with yourself is UNJ Fishing's pro staffer Adam Wynn, who he does a lot of hard water ice fishing during now, but he also does walleye in the summer. So, bringing him on the show with you and then kind of letting him ask some questions of you. But before we do that, just give us a little background of how you got to be the Teachin Fishin guy now.
So, as we were talking earlier, when I was a kid, we had a cabin up on the AuSauble River on the flies only stretch, about halfway between Grayling and Stefan's Bridge, and I fell in love with fishing, and not necessarily catching fish. I fell in love with the process of fishing, all of the thinking and understanding, when the bugs were going to hatch and understanding the weather and the wind. And my grandpa really kind of fostered that. And at the time, we'd go up there and spend the whole summer. My grandpa was retired, so it was my grandma, my grandpa, myself, my brother, my mom, and my dad would go back and forth, to work and then come up for the weekend. So I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, who absolutely loved the process of fishing, and passed that on to me. And being, 80 yards from some of the best trout fishing in the world, I never left the river. So I can remember telling him as an early teenager, saying, I'm going to make my living fishing. And he's like, yeah, go to school, get a job, then you retire. I'm like, no, you don't get it, right? But then, so I did fish a little bit. I really wanted to fish. I got into bass fishing after trout fishing. That was kind of my first transition into lake fishing, and then this walleye fishing thing started. And a lot of guys weren't doing it, so we started fishing Saginaw Bay. I bought a Lund boat in 1988. Started doing some more walleye fishing. And then life comes along, right? You find the right girl, you get married, kind of life. You get a real job, and things kind of go. And I can remember I was working at a bank, and I can remember sitting one day going, I just don't want to do this anymore. I really, really want to try this fishing thing. So talked to my wife, and we made some agreements. And 1996, I jumped into tournament fishing. In 2000, I quit my job at the bank and went full time into the fishing thing. And I always wanted to be a full time tournament fisherman, just traveling the country and fishing tournaments. But you can't do that. There's very few guys who make a living on the water. So the seminar started in the late 90s at the original Outdoor Rama was kind of our first seminar, the Pontiac Silverdome. And then we got into doing some stuff at Gander Mountain stores throughout the state. And the seminar thing just kind of took off, and it just kind of rolled into where we are now. So, my whole life, every day, I get up every day with one goal, and that's to make somebody a better angler with whatever we do, right? Be it on the water, be it a seminar, be it an article, be it something like this, whatever the case may be. So that's what I've been doing now full time since 2004. I fished my last tournament in 2005, went full-time guiding in 2006, and I do about 160, 170 charter trips a year, and then all of the education stuff, the seminars and the show, and here we are. So it's a great life. It's not a great living. It's a great life. Sometimes you have to sacrifice one to have the other. I love my life. I wish I like everybody. Wish I made a little bit better living, but I love my life. I love the people I get to meet. I love the people I get to spend time in the water with. I love what my life brings me and what allows me to do. So I wouldn't trade what I do. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I would not trade what I do for anything.
Well, money can't buy you happiness.
Nope.
And you're one of the best fisheries in the world.
Yeah,
right,
that's not that hard. Not that hard around here.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So you took the leap of faith. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, you can't beat spending the every day on the water. So that's a blessing in itself. So kudos to you to being able to do that. So that's sweet.
Well, we're you got anything you want to take a quick break and save it for later?
You know what? We got some questions coming in, but we can take our break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and we'll go on.
All right. We're going to step outside, take our first break, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
All right, welcome back. Second segment of the show. Sitting here talking to Lance Valentine, talking about walleye. We got Adam Wynn sitting over on the UNJ boat dock.
Right, and once again, folks that are listening on the podcast, you're driving to work and you're like, what are they talking about? Kind of giggling and whatnot coming out of a break. You got to go watch the live. Go back to Facebook, watch the live feed, or catch us on YouTube when I post it over there, because there's things we talk about between the segments where you hear the billboards and everything that you won't hear.
Usually I'm making fun of you.
Usually, but
sometimes you're making fun of me.
But this time we're going to let Adam roll this segment. Adam, like I said, you see the questions, you can start there.
We got a bunch of questions coming in here tonight.
If you've got some other questions you want to talk to Lance, go right ahead.
Absolutely, definitely do. Tammy's got a question in here. She says, what advice would you think is key for someone that has never fished for walleye?
I think that is an awesome question, and I would tell you, if I had to go back and start, I was fortunate enough that I learned this from my grandfather. I think the biggest mistake people make when they start fishing, regardless what they're fishing for, is they worry too much about the fishing. They worry about rods and reels and line and lures. They worry about all that other crap. And none of that crap is important unless you know where to go fishing. So the first thing I would tell somebody that wants to learn how to catch a new species of fish or fish a new body of water or wants to get into fishing, I would tell you spend some time learning about the species that you're chasing. Where do they live? What do they need at different times of year? What do they eat? Where are they going to be? Because if you understand that, the presentation thing isn't that big of a deal. If you worry about all the lures first, you can have all that stuff, but if you don't put it in the right place, it doesn't matter. So my first encouragement would be find some good walleye fishing books, do some studying, read them over and over and over again. Go to some seminars that talk about some basic walleye fishing. Maybe bring a map of your favorite lake to a seminar and say, hey, this is where I usually fish. I want to learn how to catch walleye. Can you give me some spots that I should try? Start with understanding your target species first before you worry about all the other stuff.
Speaking of going to seminars, just a shout out, you're going to be at Outdoorama giving seminars?
Yeah. We'll be at Outdoorama. We'll have our booth there. So people can come by and say hi and ask any questions they have. And then we're always doing seminars, so I'm sure we'll be on the seminar stages for sure.
Yeah, that's sweet. So do you mainly stick to just the Detroit River now, or do you do Saginaw Bay at all?
Yeah, so I fish April and May on Detroit, and I usually start like the Thursday right before Memorial Day on Saginaw Bay. I'm up there until about the third weekend of August. I take a little break, and then I'm back I go to Lake Erie in Ohio, usually about October 20th. Okay. And I'm usually there till November, like the weekend before Thanksgiving. And then at that point, I'm done. I've done enough fishing. I don't care if I ever catch another fish. I'm done. I've had enough.
Right.
Then we take a little break.
I see a lake map there of Mullet Lake. Do you do some fishing up there?
Yeah, I try to get up there every once in a while. It's one of my favorite inland lakes. Actually, Burt has become a much better walleye lake than Mullet has. But yeah, that's a great place to fish. It's a little tricky because the water's a little bit deeper, and there is a lot of places for fish to kind of hang out. But yeah, that's one of the best bodies of water we have here in the state of Michigan. Is Burt and Mullet. Up there, you take Burt and Mullet, you take Houghton Lake, you take Hubbard Lake. You take those four for the up north crowd, and you've got four of the best walleye fishers we have in the state here that are non-Great Lakes. You don't need a big boat. You don't have to worry about weather most of the time. Those are four great walleye fisheries that people can take advantage of out of a small rig.
Yeah, absolutely. Mullet Lake's a great lake. I ice fish it a lot. I've been ice fishing it pretty hard for the last couple of years. So Mullet Lake is definitely a good walleye lake for sure in Michigan. So when you're on the Detroit River, do you guys ever pick up any sturgeon or anything out there?
Yeah, so we usually catch 5 or 6 sturgeon a year.
Okay.
We hook a lot more than that, but most of the sturgeon that you land or most of the sturgeon that you hook are either hooked on the top of the head or a lot of them get underneath the dorsal fin.
Okay.
Or underneath the pec fin. So you get them right here, and you can't control them. You can't do anything with them. Every once in a while you get lucky and you get them. They either eat your jig, which very rarely happens, or you get them down by the mouth, and you can kind of control them and steer them. But if you get them on the top of the head, or, I've had them hooked on the back fin before, or you get them underneath the pec fin, it's just going to be, the whole goal at that point is to not lose all your fishing line.
Right.
That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just don't get spooled.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, and then more and more every year. Obviously, they've done a lot of work there on Detroit River, create artificial spawning areas. That is the one place that the Great Lakes sturgeon is actually making a comeback. They found out that the area, especially around the top of Fighting Island, is the main spawning area. So they're doing a lot of work there to create a lot of artificial spawning habitat so they can bring that sturgeon species back.
Very cool, very cool. So how's been the walleye fishing on the Detroit River over the past few years? Has it been pretty good, or
it's been amazing.
That's awesome.
I tell guys all the time, you hear your grandparents talk about the good old days. We're in the good old days of fishing. This is the best walleye fishing has been in the state of Michigan forever. And it just gets better every year. Saginaw Bay is on fire. The Detroit River's on fire. Lake St. Clair and the St. Clair River are amazing. Lake Erie is Lake Erie. The walleye fishing, and actually the walleye fishing in all of the upper Midwest is just the best it's ever been. I think part of that is not only, water quality and the amount of fish we have and the conservation efforts that people have started to make the last 20, 30 years, but I think anglers are better, right? Most anglers know how to use their sonar. Most anglers know how to find fish. Most anglers know how to catch fish. Most anglers, the skill level of anglers has exponentially rose over the years. So I'm not so sure that there's obviously more fish, and the netting surveys tell us that, but I think that we are much more proficient at catching fish. So obviously the catch rates go up, and it looks like everybody's catching more fish. Probably catching the same as we used to, but there's more people doing it. So, which is good. The more people out there catching fish, the better it is for everybody, for the business as a whole, and for everybody fishing.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's like up on Saginaw Bay. I mean, they bumped that limit up to 8, and, bumped the size down and everything. So
yeah, I think this is our 6th or 7th summer that we're 8 fish at 13 inches, which sucks for a charter captain.
Yeah.
Because on my Angler Quest pontoon, I get 6 people. So their expectation is 48.
Right.
So 48 fish, we leave the dock at 7, we get back to the dock at noon. There's usually a half-hour travel to our spot both ways. That's 4 hours to catch 48 fish. That's one fish over the rail every 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's a lot of fish on the boat for sure.
That's a tough task. Now, it happens a lot of days. And then the worst part is that means there's 48 fish on the fish cleaning table. So it means my lunch break gets kind of squashed because we spend half of it cleaning fish. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. If that's why people come, I'm all for it.
Yeah, Saginaw Bay is always a blast. It's always a great time out there fishing. So so do you ever go up to the UP, like Little Bay to Knock or any of that?
No, I fished all those places when I was tournament fishing. Okay. I fished as a tournament pro from 96 until 2005.
Okay.
So 11, 12 years or whatever that is, 12 seasons. Most of that on the professional walleye trail. So I tell guys all the time, I have fished every walleye spot you've heard of, from Buffalo, New York to Fort Peck, Montana in the west, from the top of Lake of the Woods in Kenora, Ontario, all the way south to Bull Shoals, Arkansas. Any place you've heard of in that parameter, I fished it. So I've been to all these amazing walleye waters, throughout the country, and some of them are amazing. Nothing to what we have here, but each little lake holds its own little kind of fun thing to do. I like to live bait rig. Live bait rig, big chubs, 6, 7, 8 inch chubs. Got turned onto that in Cass Lake in northwestern Minnesota. And that is an absolute riot. That's just an absolute nuts. I enjoy that. So there was a lot of different things to do, different types of fishing to do. But right now, honestly, if I have 3 or 4 free days, I do not hook the boat up and go fishing. If I have a couple free days, fishing is kind of the last thing from my mind. So my fishing focus is on what I'm doing as a charter captain right now.
Awesome. So do you need bigger fish like salmon fishing or any of that?
So I've got a good friend on the west side, Captain Lance Keene from Steelhead Hunter Charters. Lance is a good friend of mine. I've known Lance since he was just a little kid, and we usually go over and do an afternoon and then a morning with him. Let him do all the work. We usually go over once in the wintertime and do a steelhead trip on the jet sled, and then we usually go down in February and see him for 3 or 4 days down at Isle Morado, Florida. So that's kind of the extent of my fun fishing. And when I do go fun fishing, I usually let somebody else take me.
Gotcha.
I just show up and I'm just a client. And sometimes I'm not a very good client, but I just show up and, here, bait my hook and, make me a sandwich. So,
right.
I definitely don't. If I'm going to go fishing, especially someplace I don't really know, I don't have the time to spend on, what's the cost to get started salmon fishing?
Yeah.
I don't have the time or the money to go over there 3 or 4 times a year, so I just hire a guide. And I would tell a lot, if anybody's listening, if you want to learn a new body of water, you want to learn a new species, hire a guide, right? Let them show you the mistakes that they made, so you don't make those same mistakes. And listen. Hire a guide and listen. Nothing frustrates me more than somebody getting on the boat, paying me and taking fish, and then arguing with me. Well, why did you hire me?
Right. Are they arguing your fishing technique?
It's not really arguing, right? But you'll have guys on the Detroit River go, you ever use a MEP spinner? Well, you go to Ken all the time. We use MEP spinners, and I'm like, stop. That's not there. This is here.
Okay.
You got 5 hours. Focus on what you're doing here. Learn how to do this, and then you can do your other thing next time you go, right? But I'll tell you, it's one of the things I get a lot at shows. So, we believe in very specific things. And when I teach you something about fishing, it's what I believe through my experience. right? If I don't believe that it's true, I'm not going to tell you. So when I tell you something, and we have changed the way we fish a lot in the last 6, 8, 10 years. We've gone through this progression. So a lot of times at shows, I'll do a seminar and I'll talk about a certain way of fishing, and someone will come back and go, well, I talked to so-and-so and they said, I said, okay, stop. Here's your choice. You can listen to somebody that goes to Detroit River 50 days in a row, 9 hours a day, every day, for 50 days for the last 25 years. You can listen to that guy, or you can listen to a guy who goes twice with people who know how to fish it to shoot a TV show. I don't care who you listen to, but you got to pick one. I know who I would listen to if I was going to go try to do something. Be the guy that does it every single day, right? So you get a lot of that. So I would think, I don't ever go fish a new body of water without hiring a guide. If I'm going to go somewhere new, if I got a 4, 5, 6, 7 day vacation, first day I would hire a guide. And I would tell that guy, here's what I want to learn. I'm going to be here for 6 days. I'm not going to follow you around, but can you give me some idea on how the fish move and what I'm looking for? Don't hire a guide the last day to save your trip. Or don't fish all year on Saginaw Bay and go, I haven't caught anything. I'm going to hire a guide the third week of August. Hire somebody. I just booked a trip today, guys. I got a brand new boat. I think it's rigged right. I got some stuff for Saginaw Bay. I don't know how to do anything. Can we go on your... So he booked a charter trip, and we're going to go on his boat and get his boat dialed in. I think that's a great idea. Do it with somebody that does it every day. Let them get you dialed in, make some suggestions on what you should buy. Too many people spend way too much money on crap they don't need before they need it, right? Just buy what you need to get the job done, learn how to do that, and then you can start to expand. So I tell people all the time when they get started, one of my most common remarks to people getting started is slow down.
Well, like you said, right? I've seen every lure on TV that catches me the fish that I want to catch, so I should go out and buy that, right? And I mean, like you said, they're all over the place. You just walk into these stores and you can see, but if you don't know how to use them,
doesn't matter.
Not going to matter. So
the minimalist
it doesn't matter,
right? So we don't know. Mike and I never knew how to fish, Saginaw Bay or anything like that.
I still don't.
We don't. And so my daughter-in-law got a charter out of Saginaw Bay, and we went, and I just watched, Rock and Reel 2.0. Like you said, I let him do the work. Like
yep.
But it's just one of those things. It start like you said, Mike, a minimalist. Just get somebody that knows.
Yeah,
I'm sure. He gets these at shows a million questions, but they're good questions.
Well, it's like if we want to learn archery. I mean, the things that we've learned over the years, we go to the people who know how to do it and teach us, so we don't spin our wheels, hours upon hours, and then go, oh, this sucks, and just
right?
And how many people have you seen that trying to learn to shoot and they show up and they've got sights and they got this and they got all this and they got all this and they don't even know how to anchor their release underneath their chin.
Bingo.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what have we done here? Buy a $40 bow. Learn the physical process of actually shooting the bow. Get comfortable handling the bow.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can.
It's always about the person.
Everybody wants to go from 0 to 100. And if you do that, you do a couple things. Number one, you spend a lot of money you don't need to spend. And number two, you end up frustrated.
The last one's the big one because then you quit.
You quit.
Yep.
You just don't want to do it anymore. And I think we lose more people at that stage, the frustration stage, than anything. We have if folks go to our website, teachinfishin.com, and click on the public courses, we have a course that's called The Evolution of an Angler.
What?
And it talks about how people go through this process of starting out, moving through the process, and at one point they become what I call the stuff guy, somebody who's got to have everything, right? I just got to buy it, and then you kind of progress from there. So go check that out. That's a pretty good seminar that we did that I think will kind of help people kind of understand where they are and where they need to slow down as they're trying to learn how to fish.
And as you're talking about that, I was scrolling through your website, that Lance Valentine. TeachinFishin.com.
Go to TeachinFishin.com, not LanceValentine.com. Go to TeachinFishin.com.
That's right. Go to TeachinFishin.com. We were showing it as you were talking about it, so everybody kind of sees the landing page.
That's my site. Go to TeachinFishin.com.
That's where I'm at.
And then go back to the home page. So you're on the charter page. So just type in TeachinFishin.com with no G's.
Right.
And it should bring you up to the website.
There you go, Dan.
There we go.
See?
Public courses.
There you go.
He found it.
If you go to the public courses, click on that. That's all that stuff that everybody can view for free. And if you go through that, there's a seminar there called The Evolution of an Angler. No, how do you end up there every time?
No, I'm there. The 5 Ps.
Yeah, there you go, right there.
The evolution of an angler.
There you go.
Right
On the right-hand side of the top row there, public courses. And then, evolution of an angler it's a fun seminar, and it just kind of talks about that process that we all go through. We all go through it with hunting. We all go through it with fishing. We all go through it with any sport that we get into. We start out as knowing nothing. Then we try to learn, and then we're happy just to catch something. We don't really care what it is, right? And then we become enamored. We become the stuff guy. We got to buy everything. And then we become somebody who can catch fish in one lake, one certain time of year on one lure, and we think we're great. And it's that whole process of how you go through that evolution of an angler and kind of where you get stuck. And, and you may be the best walleye angler in the world, but when you start out smallmouth bass fishing for the first time, you got to go back to the start because you're starting that whole process all over again. So I tell people a lot of times when they come to a show or seminar and start asking a lot of questions, the first thing I tell them to do is slow down. Pick one thing this year. Where are you going to fish mostly? I'm going to fish Saginaw Bay in July and August. Good. Don't ever fish any deeper than 15 feet of water. Buy 6 different colors of flicker shad 7s, 2 colors of flicker shad 5s, and some flicker minnow 7s. Buy a couple planer boards, put them out, drive around at 3 mile an hour in less than 15 feet of water. I promise you'll catch something. Don't make it any harder. Well, what about spoons? What about lead cards? Stop. Just stop. Just buy 4 rods, 2 for each side. Go fish, and then learn. Then you can start to add that other stuff.
Keep it simple.
Yep. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Yep. That's how it even is, ice fishing. Keep it simple. It goes a long way. So don't make it complex.
There you go, folks. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to go into our next break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Lance about some of the new stuff that he has. Well, if he's got any left from what we found out. But we'll be back right after this.
All right, we're going to step outside and take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show, and we've been covering all kinds of stuff. But the biggest thing I've learned so far, keep it simple.
Right, keep it simple.
Concentrate on one thing.
You want to get into fishing different species, like Lance says, keep it simple. Adam said it, keep it simple. Theory is, keep it simple till you kind of know. Mm-hmm. When you go out, you think you've watched every TV show, but until you do it, try it, So, but Adam, what do you got there?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions coming in. One of the questions is, how many lines do you put out per person, and do you use planer boards?
So when I'm trolling on Saginaw Bay, or anywhere in Michigan, it's 3 rods per person. So my normal setup I have a 24-foot Angler Quest tri-tune pontoon that's designed for fishing, right? It's designed for trolling specifically. And our normal setup is 7 offshore planer boards on the side and 1 down rod on the corner. So that's 16 rods. 16 rods is our normal. 16 rods is our normal everyday setup when we're trolling the bay. Lake Erie in the fall, we may back it off because the fish are bigger and it takes a little longer to get fish in, and you're fishing a little bit deeper, so there is more line out, there is more stuff going on. Our normal setup is usually 4 boards, 4 offshore boards on the side and a down rod, but I try to maximize. If I've got 3 people in the boat, we're going to get 9 rods in the water. If I got 4 people in the boat, we're going to get 12 rods in the water, because why miss an opportunity to catch fish, right? So I think you need to learn how to get all the rods out that you can get out. And obviously planer boards make that a whole lot easier, but don't forget those rods on the corners. There are someday those rods on the corners catch more fish than anything else that we do. And a lot of days on Saginaw Bay, we may only be fishing 8, 9, 10, 11 feet of water. And we may have a jet diver or a offshore tadpole on, and that lure is literally 11 feet of line from the tip of the rod. And that tip of the rod is, 3 feet forward to the back of the boat or 2 feet forward to the back of the boat, hitting the surface of the water. So that lure is you can literally see the lure some days. And fish will come up and they'll smack it. And there's days that those 2 down rods will outfish the board rods exponentially.
Yeah,
so
that's like even ice fishing, sometimes your dead stick rods and tip ups are outfish your jigging rods.
So. don't hesitate to use those down rods. But maximize how many. Once you get comfortable setting a spread and moving lures around, don't ever leave a rod in the boat that you could have in the water.
Yep, absolutely. Always maximize your lines, for sure. Another question that came in was, what was your biggest catch and ever catch a tagged fish?
I've caught lots of tagged fish. I don't have my keychain with me. I actually have them on my keychain. My keychain is hung up on the back of the door. I've got, I think as of right now, 11 tagged walleye and 3 tagged trout. So I've got 14 tags. But Saginaw Bay is one of the primary places they tag fish. So you fish the Saginaw River, Saginaw Bay a lot, you're probably going to run into a tagged fish. A couple down on Lake Erie, 2 on Detroit River. Biggest walleye I've ever landed personally was 14.18. That was a Lake Erie fish in April. The biggest fish that I've ever been part of, I netted a 15.3 for a guy on Lake Erie a couple years ago in the fall. So I'm a pretty detailed record keeper. I'm sitting right now about 118, 120 fish over 12 pounds. I've caught a lot of fish over 12 pounds. And look at, just because I get a chance to fish a lot in the right place. That has nothing to do with being a good angler. It's just I spend a lot of time fishing where a lot of big fish are at the right time of year. So that you know, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of fish over 10 pounds. Again, just because I've been doing this for 30 years and I fish in some of the best places at the best times for big fish. So the 14.18 was actually caught in a tournament. Unfortunately, the day was canceled because of wind and it didn't count. But
speaking of the right place at the right time, there's a question here that's asking, if you could only fish the Detroit River 1 week out of the year, when would it be?
Simple. So again, I'm a very, very detailed record keeper. I record everything that happens. I've been doing that since I was a little kid. My grandpa taught me that when I was 7. I've got fishing journals back from when I was a little kid. Without question, the best time every year to catch big fish on the Detroit River is April 10th or April 20th, with a concentration from about the 12th to the 16th.
That's
because
pretty
people
detailed.
Here's where people get messed up, right? Everybody's going to get this big thing this year. Oh, we're going to have an early spring. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Water temperature is about the 3rd or 4th most important factor in walleye spawning. The most important factor on when walleye are going to spawn, there's 2 things: moon phase and length of day. And I don't care, if you're a deer hunter, you understand this, right? I don't care if April 15th is 20 below zero and the ice went off yesterday, or it's 90 degrees and the ice never came on this winter. The length of daylight on April 15th is always the same. And the amount of daylight and the moon phase is much more important and triggers exponentially more spawning activity than temperature ever does. So that's where that window falls in Detroit, 10th to the 20th of April, with a concentration around the 12th to the 16th, 12th to the 17th.
Nature drives it.
Well, it kind of has a common theme there, right?
Yeah.
With deer hunting, November 15th.
Yep.
You know,
nature drives it. And it's the amount of daylight. Yep.
If you understand big bucks, you understand big walleye. You just got to transfer that knowledge to the water. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And there are guys who trophy hunt for bucks or trophy hunt for walleye, and they'll go 25 days and not fish, and then they don't stop fishing for 7 days.
Right.
Huh. Right. And because those are the right 7 days, and it's the same thing. But that's 10th to the 20th, like I said, that concentration around the 12th through the 16th or 17th is definitely the time that most years. Now, I catch pre-spawn fish, 10, 11, 12 pound fish on the Detroit River. I've caught them Memorial Day weekend. So it's not a window where it happens and it's done. That's the biggest misconception guys have about the Detroit River is, there's this run and the run's over. The run ain't over, and it's not a run. It's a migration, completely different thing. And there are pre-spawn fish coming in the Canadian side where the water is colder, faster, and deeper. There are pre-spawn fish with 10, 11, 12-pound fish full of eggs that do not even come into the river to spawn until the middle of May.
Yeah.
So it's not this window. It's done. It's over. There's no big fish left. That is an absolute fallacy that I wish folks would understand more, that some of the best fishing happens in May on the Detroit River. A lot better fishing than April.
So there you go. So April, be out there, folks. You can, for a small nominal fee, he will tow you out to the spot. Just joking.
I tell guys all the time, if they want to come and catch a buck, if you want to come fish in shirt sleeves and catch as many 3 to 6.5 pound fish as you want to catch, and you actually beg me to take you in, it's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th week of May. That never happens in April.
Right. So there you go.
It's May. And if I wasn't if I wasn't 110 miles one way away from home at Detroit, I would stay a lot longer. I'd fish Detroit River up until probably Father's Day, because the fishing stays great until Father's Day. But after I've been there for 50 days and haven't been home in 50 days, number one, I run out of underwear. So at some point I got to go home and do some laundry. Number two, I kind of, start to miss home and miss my wife, and she doesn't miss me, but I miss her. And so, but if I live closer to the Detroit River, I don't know that I would ever take my boat out of my slip. I was down there in September helping a buddy pre-fish for a bass tournament, and we spent 2 days down there, and I caught more 4, 5, 6 pound walleye in September than I catch a lot of days in April, along with some 4, 5, 6 pound smallmouth and a couple big largemouth and a big giant muskie. The Detroit River never stops. It never, ever stops being a great river to fish for anything you want to fish for.
That's awesome.
So you're far enough away that it's more advantageous for you to stay on location.
Oh, yeah. I'm an hour and a half drive each way.
Gotcha. Cost of gas. Everything.
Especially now, right?
Time on the road when you could be down there fishing, having to get up earlier.
And that's what I do, right? I go down there, and my job, I have one job. My job is to, and this is how I it's kind of funny to hear guys how they got it. I'm like, man, think about what happens in April and May. What are you doing every night? You're home. You got the lawn to take care of. The lawn's growing. The garden's got to be done. This and that, right? And all the summer, spring projects. I don't have to do any of that. My wife takes care of all of that. I just go and fish and bring home a gallon baggie full of $100 bills. That's my job for April and May, is to go fill that baggie back up.
I'd watch how you transport that money. You ever get pulled over? Hundreds in a baggie might not be the greatest thing.
Step out of the vehicle.
And it's funny. I've been married for 32 years, and I absolutely adore my wife. And there will be times that I'll call her, and I'm like, we haven't talked in 3 days. Because there's really nothing, what is there to talk about? She's doing her stuff. She's got a job. She's taking care of the house, so I can do my job. I'm doing my job. I'm up at 5:30. I'm down at the marina. I'm taking care of the boat. I'm taking customers out. I have lunch. I take a little nap. I take customers out. I take care of the boat. I go back to the house. I have a little bite to eat. I fall asleep. I mean, that's my life for 50 days.
You're a lucky man to have a wife.
Oh, yeah, without question.
That works with you that way, because
without question.
We've all seen it in the outdoor industry, man. That kind of stuff can split a family or a marriage apart quicker than anything.
Yeah, I could tell you a story, especially when I was tournament fishing, guys that showed up with 2 trucks, one pulling their boat and a buddy pulling a trailer with all their stuff in it, because their wife told them, if you go fishing this weekend, you're not coming home.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
So
happens a lot.
Their gear. Yeah.
Right? So, we talk about the river, we talk about the bay, we talk about area. Do you ever get up to Lake St. Clair?
I fish the bottom part of Lake St. Clair, the bottom 2 miles, sometimes in the spring when I'm walleye fishing. It's definitely something that's on my list. And I got a lot of friends that fish down there. I have a lot of invites to go. I just need to do it. I fished Lake St. Clair one time in a professional walleye trail tournament, and it was nuts. We fished it on a Saturday, and a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the traffic just drove me bonkers. Not the fishing traffic, the idiot traffic, right? But I would like to get back there and spend some time in the spring, especially in the fall. I'd like to get back there and do some fishing. So as I go every year, I try to find more days to just go fishing for fun. Obviously, I have a group of friends that love to fish, so I'm trying more and more to take people up on these invites. Come on down and just fish in the boat. So, but yeah, if you can get on Lake St. Clair, it's one of the best bodies of water we have.
Right, exactly, and all these bodies of water, any time of the year is a good place to go fishing. But you got to have the time to do it, and the time right now is to go to our last break.
All right,
and when we come back, we got to talk about these lures you got that you're almost sold out of.
All right, we're going to step outside and take our last break. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
We are back for our last segment, right?
It went quick, man.
I tell you what, it doesn't get any quicker when, like we were talking
in the break.
But you're not going to hear it on the podcast. Check out our live Facebook feed or check out the YouTube to see what we talk about in the breaks that you can see live on Facebook. And speaking live on Facebook, Lance, we got about 45 minutes or so, and then you're going to go from one live show here at Up North Journal to your own live show. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
So we'll be live over at teachinfishin.com for our Coffee Hour Plus. Tonight we're talking about rods, talking about rod action, rod power, rod length. We're going to talk about what all those things actually mean and how to apply it to walleye fishing. Guys can go right to the teachinfishin.com website. On the homepage, scroll down to the box that says Coffee Hour Plus. Click on that, and you'll be able to find the live stream for our Coffee Hour Plus, and we will be live at 9 o'clock tonight.
Can't beat that.
There you go.
Yep.
So everybody that has been nice enough to come visit us over here on Facebook, take a little break, get a little nighttime bite to eat, go over to see Lance and listen to what he's got to say. Yeah. I don't know if I want to have coffee hour at 9 o'clock at night.
We're thinking we got to change the name, but
right. But Adam, you got a question for Lance?
Yeah, Mark got a question in here in chat. He said, after being away 50 days, how do you reacclimate yourself to living back at home? Does it take a few days?
That's an awesome question, and I'm laughing. It's not really hard for me. It's hard for my wife because she has been 50 days without me around, without stuff thrown on the floor, without shoes running out. You know how that goes, right? So it's a bigger deal for her. So it actually takes us about 2 weeks. To kind of get used to living together again, because it's been 2 months basically. For me, it's not a big deal because I just keep doing what I've been doing down in Detroit, but that bothers her because that's obviously not that's her ballywhack, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really last that long because I usually get home on Sunday. I usually get home on Monday from Detroit. Take Tuesday off. Take the go up to. I usually have somebody dump my Angler Quest pontoon into my slip at Limited Beach Marina as I'm still in Detroit. So I'm home on Monday. Take Tuesday off, kind of repack, reorganize, get rolling. Wednesday, I go up to the boat on the bay, take a little spin around. Friday is my day to fix stuff, or Thursday is my day to fix stuff, and then that Friday I'm guiding. So, Saginaw Bay is close enough. It's about a 42-minute round trip to get up and back. So I usually go up in the morning, do my 2 charters, and come home. If I get 3 or 4 days in a row of that, I will stay at a buddy's house or I'll get a hotel. But I'm just kind of, even though I'm home, I'm kind of a vagabond until the end of August. So I'm in and out, and sometimes gone for 3, 4, 5 days at a time. But yeah, Mark, it's definitely takes about a week to kind of get acclimated to being back together, right? To share everything that you do and you don't have anybody else to worry about or no responsibility, right? And then my wife has the house exactly the way she wants it, and there's not crap thrown all over, and all of a sudden these two worlds collide again. I think that takes a better woman than let me go fishing and let me come home. I think that's the bigger part of it.
How long does it take before she says, when are you going back fishing again?
About 4 days. 4 days. I get a lot of friends, and she's like, hey, can you take him somewhere? He's been home for 5 days. He needs to go.
That's good stuff.
She tells everybody that's how we stayed married so long. People go, how can you stand it when he's gone that much? And she goes, that's why we're married. Because he's gone a lot. So.
Right, and it's just one of those things. You got to count your blessings and go from there. But what about these lures that you showed me at you told me about them. You're selling them out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them so we can let the people know about them.
So obviously Detroit River is vertical jigging, right? That's how 90% of the fish are caught on the Detroit River. But most of the people that fish Detroit River, and again, I'm always leery about saying some of these things because we live in a place where you can do everything wrong and still catch fish because there are so many fish and the fish is so darn good, right? But anytime you're fishing, let me back up. I just wrote an article today about jigs, about jig heads. And the first thing I say is this: I don't care what you're fishing for with a jig. I don't care if you're vertical jigging in rivers. I don't care if you're slip bobber fishing for crappies. I don't care if you're throwing jigs for smallmouth bass on Lake St. Clair. I don't care if you're throwing big jigs for pike or lake trout. Doesn't matter. There is never a situation where a round ball jig or a jig that looks like a round ball should ever be your first choice. They should all be thrown in the bottom of the river, all melted down. You should never, ever buy a jig that looks like a round ball, ever. They're terrible. They twist, they turn, they lay on the bottom. You don't know which way they're going to fall. So about 15 years ago, we designed this jig, which we called a thump jig. Pointed nose, a lot of the weight on the back of the jig. So what happens, and this is not a mold you can go buy. It's a design that we worked on for 6 months to get right. And what happens with this is the nose is pointed, obviously, so it goes into the current, doesn't spin, and the water goes over it, and the water goes over top of these, we call them cheeks, and it actually pushes the jig down. So this jig fishes heavier than it weighs, and it actually stays straight in the current, and it's easier to keep vertical. Problem we had with this is we built it with like most jigs are, with a lead collar. Well, that splits plastics. You put soft plastics on here, some of the plastics will split, and then you're kind of in trouble, right? So we went back to the drawing board. We got a hold of the guys at 2K Jigs, one of the biggest jig manufacturers in the country over on the west side of the state, and we kind of spent some time together. And we came up with this, which is we call it the definitive walleye jig, the definitive river jig. So what we did, we took that lead off of the collar and we replaced it with two metal barbs. So you can put small plastics on here. They're not going to split. They hold on better. So we've eliminated that problem. The problem is now you take all that lead off here. You got to put that lead somewhere to make this jig weigh the same amount, right? So the guys worked really hard. They put the lead in the bottom. And what it did is it made the nose pointier. So it points to the current and cuts the current better. And it made the cheeks a little more pronounced. So now it actually pushes down and stays vertical better than our old jig did. And one of the results of this, and this is why working with a master jig maker was so cool, a little happy, I call it a Bob Ross happy accident. Remember Bob Ross? He used to be on PBS doing the pain, right? There's never make a mistake. It's a happy accident. And what happened was when this got all done and got all finished and we fixed the mold and got it all done, this jig now, when it hits the bottom, sits straight up. I don't know if you can see that. It does not roll over. So that hook is always facing up. It's never rolling over. Round ball jig hits the bottom. You have no idea where it's going to go. You don't have any idea if the jig is going to be down, if it's going to be outside, if it's going to hit this way. You have no clue. So a jig that's designed properly stays vertical, doesn't spin, doesn't cause line twists, makes it easier to feel the bottom, and prevents you from getting snagged. So we knew it was going to be a hit. We knew it was going to be a big deal. We didn't know we were going to sell out at the Novi show. And we literally sold 1,000 packs of jigs. So we took 1,000 packs of jigs and we came home with 12, I think. So we thought we had enough jigs for the Novi show and Outdoorama. We didn't even get through the Novi show. We were out of most sizes and colors. We went with 2 sizes, 3/4, 1 ounce. 6 different colors, and we were out of most of our 1 ounce and the top selling colors in 3/4. We were out by lunch on Saturday.
Are you going to be restocked for Outdoorama?
They're making jigs right now. So they're making jigs right now for Outdoorama. We've got another production scheduled for during Outdoorama that's going to get us to the Grand Rapids show, and then another production scheduled for late February that we'll be able to stock the web store, and guys will be able to get them on the website starting in middle of March.
There you go. So, folks, if you're listening, get to the next show so you can get them. Make sure you're there early, it sounds like, if you're going to be sold out by Saturday. And
absolutely.
And you know what? Get your favorite color. I'm hearing pink is your favorite color. TD pink. I think you're going to rename it for us.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I love pink in clear water. It's one of my first. When the water gets really, really clear, I like blue and I like pink in clear water, any clear water situation. And that's one of my favorite crappie colors. If I'm crappie fishing, my jig or body probably has pink on it somewhere. Pink catches a lot of crappies.
There you go.
So I do like crappie.
Mike, you got a question?
Yeah, I got a couple questions before we kind of wrap up here. I was on Facebook a couple weeks back, maybe last week, and you were talking about superstitions. Is it true that you if you put the wrong boot on first, you'll back out and then redress again? Explain that.
This comes from my hockey days. I am a 100% left side first guy.
Okay, me too.
And I got to a situation. We were talking about this. I got in a situation where I'm talking and my clients are down. I go down to the marina in street clothes.
Okay.
And I completely go down to skivvies and I completely put on all my stuff down at the marina. There's another story for that another day. Why I do that. But I went down there and I was talking and a bunch of guides around there. It was a busy time of year and my clients are there and their clients are there. And there's a bunch of people there and I put my boot on. I'm like, son of a gun, I put my right boot on first. And I took everything off. 3 layers of underclothes, rain gear, boots, socks, everything off, back down to my underwear, started over and make sure the left side went in first. Yes, I am absolutely a nut about certain things. Don't ever show me a banana when we're fishing. Not just bananas. Don't even show me a banana. No, it doesn't. I don't care how many pictures I see of guys catching fish with 6 dozen bananas in the boat. Not happening in my boat. I will throw you out.
What is the banana in the boat thing? I mean, I've heard this so many times.
So there's 2 things, right? It originally started, bananas had a lot of spiders.
Okay.
So what would happen is you'd put a bunch of bananas on a boat and you'd get spiders on the boat, right?
Okay.
But what happens, and I had a friend, this is a true story. I had a friend who did not believe me. The oil on the outside of a banana, fish don't like. They do not like it, right? And my buddy didn't believe me, so he went down. We got a place here in Flint at Holloway Reservoir called Stepping Stone Falls, or Mott Lake.
Yep.
And there's a little pool there, and it's usually loaded with 6, 8, 10, 12 carp. And he went down there and cut off a piece of banana peel because he didn't believe me. Cut off a piece of banana peel, threw it in the water. Carp came up, sucked it in, spit it out. Another carp came around, sucked it in, swam around a bit, spit it out. Right? A little bit later, another carp came around. Hey, look at Mark. Sucked it in, spit it out. Right? He goes, 4 or 5 different carp, sucked it in, spit it out. He goes, I threw another piece in there. Another fish came in, sucked it in, spit it out. And he goes, all of a sudden, the carp were gone. There wasn't a single carp in that hole.
Wow. I've never heard that before.
He goes, now I believe it. So I'm going to finish with this. We had guys on the boat. We had a group of old guys a couple years ago, and it was on Saginaw Bay, and it's 10 o'clock. You know, we left the dock at 7. It's 10 o'clock, 10:15 maybe. We got to be back at the dock by noon. We got like 5 fish. And this guy opens up his cooler and pulls out a banana. This is a true story. And I look at him and I go, unless you're going to die in the next hour and a half if you don't eat that, you need to throw that damn thing over the side of the boat. And he's like, well, I'm telling you, unless you're going to die, unless you need that right now to live for the next 2 hours, that banana needs to go. He's like, what? So I put a pair of gloves on. I threw that banana behind the back of the boat, and this is no lie. Before that banana got out of sight, we had a triple. That's 100% a true story. A true story.
You just had to get rid of the banana.
That's crazy.
And we ended up with a full box that day. And the next year, about April, the guy called me. He goes, hey, this is whatever his name was. He goes, we want to book another trip. He goes, you might remember, we're the guys that had the bananas. I go, oh, yeah, I remember. Trust me, I remember. You're the guys with the banana. I know who you are. That's a true story. And wow. I will go to my grave telling you, do not bring a banana in a boat ever.
Could I invite you to a Halloween party and have you dress up as a banana?
No, because it's funny. I like bananas. I'm a big banana guy, and this time of year I'm eating bananas because they do help me with some health things. But 30 days before my first fishing trip, I stop. I don't eat a banana.
That's funny.
From 1st of March until fishing season is over. I'm just telling you.
All right. So
we're getting closer.
Okay, so
I do have one more question.
So Adam, you got any questions left for Lance?
I got one question. If you could only fish one body of water, whether it be Saginaw Bay, Detroit River, or Lake Erie, which would it be?
Are we talking about one day or for the rest of my life?
For the rest of your life.
If I had to go fishing at one body of water for the rest of my life, it'd be Detroit River without question.
Okay.
It's not even a close second. I can catch anything I want to catch. I can fish any way I want to fish. And I can catch fish 365 days a year, 24 hours a day on the river. And I usually don't have to worry about weather, right? It's very, very rare that I have to worry about weather on the Detroit River. So, cool. Yeah, Detroit River without question.
Very cool.
All right. Mike, got a question?
Yeah, last question here, and then we'll wrap up. This is more of a kind of philosophical. You talked about, fishermen being more knowledgeable now, getting better equipment, better techniques, and things like that. And this is coming from the conservation side of things. Because we're doing a lot more to our waters now, especially around here around the Great Lakes, trying to make the fishery healthier. Are we as an outdoorsman group, and I don't want to just say fishermen or hunters, but as an outdoors group, are we getting better at what we're doing and making a good impact into the outdoors, or are we still not quite there yet? We got a long way to go.
I don't think we're quite where we need to be, but I think we're much, much, much better. I think people's attention to what they throw over the boat has changed in the last 20 years. I think the attention to leaks in a motor or gas or oil has gotten better. I think attention to what's going on environmentally with policy and procedure. I think we pay more attention to that now than we ever did. I think we're doing. I think as a group we're doing a much, much, much better job. I think we're doing a better job of passing on to the next generation. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't think you see. I don't spend a lot of time on shore, but I have a couple friends that do. And I don't think you see as much trash on the shore as you used to see, right? It used to be everybody would, you drink a pop or a beer or whatever. You never thought about not dropping it. You just dropped it. Mm-hmm. Now I think most people are cognizant about taking a bag with them or putting it in a cooler or taking it back out. I think we've come not as far as we need to go, but I think we've come a long, long way with that. And I think a lot of that has to be credited to a lot of the fishing companies have made conservation and taking care of the environment. I think they've made that part of their policy. Berkeley does a great job of some of the things that they do. I think the whole industry has gotten more taking care of the outdoors. And I've always said this, the the most valuable resource we have in the Great Lakes, I don't want to get political here, but the most valuable resource we have in the Great Lakes is not the fish, it's the water. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who pay a lot of money for the water we have. Yep. And the people that want that water, they are doing everything they can to stop the next generation from fishing, to make it hard for us to get access, to make it more expensive, right? To, letting some people net in places they should net. They're doing all these things they can, because the minute that nobody cares about the water,
they can get it at a cheap price.
Then you can sell the water. It doesn't matter. So we have to be very, very cognizant that we as a group, every outdoorsman, duck hunters, waterfowlers, turkey hunters, deer hunters, anglers, we have to, as a giant group, say it's important to keep that water clean. It's important that people care about the water, because the minute people stop caring, that water's gone.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yep. Real quick, we're winding this down as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
I'm going to get yelled at if I don't do this real quick. But you're out on the boat. What's your favorite snack to have?
So I am a red licorice guy, but it has to be Cabela's red licorice.
Oh, really?
It has to come from Cabela's. So my first trip down to Detroit, I'll take a little veer over, and I'll buy 8 or 10 bags of licorice from. I'm a big red licorice guy, and I'm a big cashew guy.
All right.
I like cashews.
Cashews and licorice.
Cashews and red licorice from Cabela's. It can't be Twizzlers or any of that crap. It has to be the Cabela's red licorice, and it has to be cashew nuts. Not just any nuts. It has to be cashews.
All right. So you're traveling. You're headed over to Chesterfield, pick up your Twizzlers.
Not.
What kind of music are you listening? What are you listening to on the radio? Are you listening to?
My playlist. I think I'm probably the only guy in the world that has Tony Bennett and Eminem on a playlist. I am very diversified when it comes to music. I like a little bit of everything, but if I get into a mood, I'm in that mood. I will tell you, trolling, without question, Saginaw Bay, country music catches more fish than anything else does.
There you go. So
wait. Don't go like this, because not country that's been made in the last 20 years. I mean, real country.
Real country.
The old country.
Stuff.
I'm talking Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard and
Bad Boys.
Willie Nelson. I'm talking about country music, not pop country.
Yeah.
There you
but
go.
a couple of years ago, I had a first mate on my boat, a little younger than I was, and he had this little girlfriend, and he had a song on his radio. And we were having a tough day, and we were listening to music, and this song came on, and while this song was playing, we caught 4 fish while the song was playing, and for 2 years, when he was first mating for me, it became our, shit's going down right now, we need to play that song.
Right. So, and finally, the other question is, we've already talked plenty of stories with you, but the final question is, so the Up North Journal team is going to come over, and you're going to make us a meal. What is your go-to meal that you're going to cook us to have a meal over?
Are we talking breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
You know what? It's a dinner, because we're going to have a bonfire after.
Oh, my gosh. So I make an absolute awesome chili. I'm not a fish eater. Believe it or not, I am not a fish eater, if you can believe that. So I am going to grill you up some steaks, and I'm going to make you a really cool salad with a little bit of secret stuff in there with fresh scallops on top of it. And I'm going to give you a bowl of some of my world famous chili that I make. That's what we're going to have. We're going to have a steak on the grill. We're going to have a nice salad with scallops in it, and we're going to have some chili.
Sounds good.
Then for dessert, my wife makes the best cheesecake you'll ever eat. So
there we go.
We'll have
Sounds good.
Turtle cheesecake for dessert.
Why don't we just do this at the end of the show? I'm hungry now.
I know, right? Yeah. So we don't have to
I got to sit here another hour and a half.
Right. But you know what? So I got the questions in.
Yeah.
Mark and Tammy can be happy.
There you go.
So there you go.
Well, Lance, thanks for joining us tonight, man. It's been a blast. We hope to get you on. Maybe we get that spring bite going. Maybe we can get you on the phone or something down there in Detroit.
Love to do it. Appreciate everything you guys do. Congratulations on all those shows. I didn't know you guys had gone that long. That's just amazing.
This is our 17th season.
Yeah, we've been doing it a little while. So, but awesome. No, thanks again. And for everybody who's listening tonight, if you're listening over on iTunes, make sure you give us a review on the podcast. That helps people who in turn help us. And don't forget, right here on our social media, give us a like, follow, share. Do the same for Lance, his pages as well. And don't forget tonight, you got to go over to Lance one more time, the plug.
TeachinFishin.com. Go down to the block that says Coffee Hour. Click on the Coffee Hour Plus. and then you can find the live stream. It'll be right there at the top of the page. Click on the live stream, and we will be live at 9 o'clock.
There you go. And Adam, that's your homework for tonight. You got to go over and you listen. I'm
definitely going over there. Definitely going to be watching for sure.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week,
Lance, get this. I think you've seen them at Outdoorama, the college bass fishing.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to have the guys from CMU and WMU, Western Michigan.
Oh, that's
you're not going to have them. You're not going to have them together, are you?
Yes.
We're going to let them go at it.
So
I'm a Bronco alumni, and I would never sit in the same studio with someone from Central Michigan.
They're not going to be.
We got to separate them.
Okay,
gotcha. Okay, all right.
That's funny because I did kind of state this, and now you guys can't beat each other up here. All right, we're going to try to do this.
There's no way a real Bronco would ever sit anywhere with a chip.
Ever. Right. So we're going to have them on.
Would not happen.
We're going to have them on next week. Talk about their bass season, but yet talk about, because they're not funded by the school, what they got to do and what they are doing. Because I think they're going to be at Outdoorama again to get into all this fishing stuff.
So that's next week.
That's next week.
Wednesday at the same time here, 7:30. So
I bought a Bronco bass shirt this year, so we're ready to go.
I got one too, maybe.
All right. Y'all take care. And everybody out there that's listening and watching, take care as well. We'll see y'all again next week.
This episode was brought to you by PSC Archery,
Deer Camp Coffee,
Buck Baits,
JPO Game Calls,
The Island Armory,
Hacker Max,
Sunrise Archery,
and C3 Better the Hunt Technology.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.